I want the crowd we never go down. I want the party never wins up. I know the house of fame, like weather rounds, know the play. What should I care for? Why do I think up? I will find my sword. What am I starting at? Why do I feel like the one who will rise? In bouncing her and fever blood, where I should chase a legend. So go back anywhere or any place. With the silence make it louder. We are the giants now evolved. Choosing the way was our soul. I'm always there as my office ways. Carrying my world to the end. Shouting to the future I'm really down. How we wanna just bring it back.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to week number 4 of the LPL. We're in day number 2 of our 4th week, and I cannot believe we're almost at the halfway mark already. My name is Munchables. I'm joined by Dagda. We asked on Twitter earlier today, and apparently the front-running answer is that we are Daggables at this point. And we're ready to get into some LPL, aren't we, Dags?
Definitely. And I agree with you. I can't believe it's already week 4. I was just thinking that as I looked at my sheet and was like, week 4, day 2. How do we get here already?
It's actually insane. I can't believe how quickly we're getting through the LPL. But let's talk about what happened yesterday. Let's talk about the results that we've got on the board. Because yesterday was pretty expected results, it has to be said, when you look at the names that were coming into these games. It was EDG against TT, a clean 2-0. The second series, we were hoping for a little bit more out of RA. But JDG feel like they're finally getting a hold of their demons, getting back on top.
Yeah, it's interesting to see JDG kind of go back to what they did in summer when the game started to lag, they started to lose. It's like, right, Kanavi, you're on lane-focused junglers. Let's just bring out the Elise. I think we might see a little bit more of that continue going forward, but at least JDG are picking up those wins that they need.
Yeah, that's the key thing, right? Is that they're just getting something on the board and stopping the bleeding early on. Looking at the standings, though, EDG and WE still topping that table, and RNG are the team that we're going to be focused on today, looking at whether or not they can close that gap a little bit and get themselves a 4th win on the board. LNG will also be playing today, so that 2-1 scoreline maybe could be pushed up to the 3-1 alongside V5 and FPX. But here are our matches. So RNG versus V5 is what we're kicking off with. So 2 of those teams that we just mentioned in the standings. Bear in mind, if V5 wins this one, they'll actually overtake RNG where they're at in the standings, or at least match up in terms of scoreline. Then over to LNG versus BLG as well. Another big one for the standings. BLG really in need of wins at this point.
Definitely, and a lot of things that BLG need to fix, but we'll certainly be hitting on that later on today. I'm excited to see RNG versus V5 because personally, this is going to set up a lot of my expectations for these teams, both for playoffs and later on in the split.
Yeah, and when we talk about this matchup, RNG versus V5, I think that these are 2 teams with obviously pretty great fan bases. Obviously, RNG, this historic organization that's represented the LPL on the world stage many times before. There's obviously a significant fan base for that team. V5, with their recent surge in 2020, has now built up this like almost cult following in the West. So I'm excited to see how these 2 teams match up. And I think we have to start the conversation with that cult following, with V5, and talking about the top half of the map. Because this team, they live and die by the Rift Herald. They are going to be getting rifty across the course of today, because when we look at this team, they win fast, they lose fast, and it all relies on the Rift Herald.
Exactly. Like, every single game I watch of V5, it's 5-man towards the first Rift Herald. We're going to pick this up. We're going to put it down in the mid lane, crack open that mid lane turret, unlock Mole, start to get some deep vision. And that's how they like to snowball their games. And that's why they win so quickly. Because if they're able to get that mid lane turret open, they're incredible at deep vision, getting control of the game, and being able to shut you down before you can even get rolling. However, if that doesn't happen, and they can't get that mid lane turret, that's where things start to go a bit astray. They're not really sure how they're supposed to keep the game going, what they should be doing. They kind of end up running around like headless chickens. So I want to see them picking up these Rift Heralds nice and early and making sure that they're able to get that ball rolling.
Yeah, and that shouldn't be too big of a challenge for them, since this is V5 we're talking about. They were super hyped in 2020, and they're going to keep that rolling.
I don't know. I mean, personally, it's going to be kind of difficult. They're up against RNG. I mean, Xiaohu's on that top side. RNG just put so many resources into them. I don't know if they're going to be able to get it done.
Hang on, wait a second there. You think RNG is going to win this one? Are you serious?
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be hard. I mean, the game plan for V5 is go through Rift Herald, and like when I look at Xiaohu, he's 100% first tower participation on the top side. It just seems like you're not going to be able to really do it.
Yeah, but V5
right after 15, after a lead of 15, like you're just not.
V5 have 100% win rate when they're ahead at 15 as well. So we're matching you.
But we have Wei.
Well, we've got Wei. And speaking of which, actually, let's take a look at those junglers and how they stack up, because I think the jungle matchup is actually probably the most important thing to talk about when it comes to these two teams. Wei versus Wei. Say that 10 times fast. But importantly, look at the statistics on your screen, because KDA and KDA at 15, very much in favor of Wei, whereas when it comes to the farming stats, like the gold difference of 15, the XP difference of 15, it's going the way of V5 and to Wei.
And that's the big difference here when we look at these two guys. Wei for RNG is very much focused on the likes of the Pantheon and even these Nidalees, where he's looking to set up these early game dives with like Renekton's and Nars and these kind of things in the top lane for Xiaohu. Whereas when we look over at Wei, he's much more about, okay, I'm going to take these farming junglers. Certainly this year and most of last year, Braves was the big pick for him, where he wants to farm it up, play through PP God on that bottom side, and then by getting this bot lane lead, they'll get that early reset and 5-man over towards this Rift Herald. So we can see that they start off in different spots, but all the action starts to lead towards that top side at the end of the day.
And one thing that I do want to quickly, already seen different ways that RMG are willing to play the game, and we're only a couple of weeks in, right? We're heading into week 4 now. They've not played that many series, but they have played a lot of different styles.
And that's the big thing here, is that especially like Fashion, you need to understand exactly how to make these things work, and that's where RNG shine. It's like there's 5 fights. Can we go and take this Baron super quickly off the opponent's reset, because we've got these super fast Baron taking teams, and this is what makes RNG so special. And I love watching this team, because they just understand so well how to play to their own compositional strengths, but more importantly, how to shut down the strengths and exploit the weaknesses of their opponents. And oftentimes they'll come in with a very good game plan in order. Where maybe they want to go towards late game scaling, but the second they get those 3 items onto a champion like Aphelios, they're just going to turn a switch and go hyper aggressive. And this is what we should be expecting from RNG coming into today, is that they're able to play multiple different styles, but it's understanding how the two compositions, theirs and their opponents, face up against each other and how to combat that.
So it's all about this intelligent play, playing around their composition and making sure that they can deny the win conditions from their opponents. So let's kind of take a step back then and talk about both teams here. As we head towards this first game, Dagda, what's your expectation for the draft? Because we've talked about how both teams theoretically want to play towards top side. How do you achieve that? How do you enact that?
Yeah, certainly for when we're looking at RNG to begin with, there's a couple of things that I'm heavily looking out for here. It's strong solo laners, certainly for Xiaohu. Xiaohu is like the be-all and end-all of RNG. Like, if he's in a bad matchup, they'll actually end up swapping, like, favorable matchups for Crying and give those mid laners to Xiaohu just so he can have a favorable matchup. So this is it. They need that top lane to be in a winning position. And having Xiaohu continuously push, start to get these tower plates chipped away at, and having Wei play towards that top side with a lot of vision control and a lot of resources given there. The other thing that I look out for RNG is Ming on a heavy engaged support. Because Xiaohu is typically a mid laner, and because as well Cryan is a mid laner, this team really struggles when it comes to their engages, so they rely on Ming to be that engage tool. On the opposite side though, for V5, they want the strong mid jungle 2v2 for Mole and Wei to start to get some of these invades set up, but certainly look for PP God to be unlocked from this bottom side and work with Wei to get those early invades.
All right, well, we'll keep our eyes on that in the draft. But we're onto the stage here, and you can see Xiaohu Wei, Cryan, Gala, and Ming. That's the RNG squad that they're bringing to the stage today. And this has been the consistent RNG squad. This has been the squad we've seen each and every day so far in the tournament. And, of course, they've got Coach Tabe as well stepping in